Have you ever heard of a military commander who was never defeated in battle? Not in 1, not in 10, but in over 100 battles. This is the story of a man whose strategic genius was so profound, he was given the title Sayf Allah, the sword of Allah. This is the story of Khalid ibn al-Walid. Before he became one of the most celebrated figures in Islamic history, Khalid was a prominent commander of the Quraysh tribe in Mecca, a fierce opponent of the early Muslims. At the Battle of Uhud, it was his tactical brilliance that turned the tide against the Muslim army, inflicting a significant setback. His cavalry charge from the rear exploited a gap in the Muslim lines, a move that is still studied in military academies today. This battle showcased the mind of a master tactician, long before he would fight for the cause of Islam, but destiny had a different path for Khalid. A few years later, something shifted within him. Drawn by the message of Islam and the character of the Prophet Muhammad, Khalid traveled to Medina. He stood before the Prophet and embraced the new faith. His conversion was a monumental event. The man who was once the Muslims' most formidable enemy was now their most powerful ally. The Prophet himself recognized Khalid's exceptional military talent, soon placing him in command. Khalid's first major test under the banner of Islam came at the Battle of Mu'tah against the mighty Byzantine Empire. The Muslims were catastrophically outnumbered. Some sources say 3,000 against an army of 200,000. The battle was fierce, and the three appointed Muslim leaders fell one by one. With the army on the brink of annihilation, the soldiers chose Khalid to take command. What happened next was pure genius. Khalid reorganized the army, swapping the positions of the vanguard and the rear guard, the left and right flanks. To the enemy, it looked like fresh reinforcements had arrived. He used small skirmishing units to create dust clouds, amplifying the illusion of a much larger force. This psychological warfare shattered the enemy's morale. Over the course of the day, he orchestrated a brilliant, orderly withdrawal, saving the entire Muslim army from what seemed like certain destruction. It was after this incredible feat that the Prophet Muhammad bestowed upon him the title, the Sword of Allah. After the Prophet's passing, the Arabian Peninsula was plunged into turmoil during the Ridda Wars, or the Wars of Apostasy. Many tribes who had pledged allegiance to the Prophet Muhammad renounced Islam and rebelled. The first caliph, Abu Bakr, entrusted Khalid with the monumental task of reuniting Arabia. Khalid marched from one battle to another, facing overwhelming odds. His most decisive victory was at the Battle of Yamama against the false prophet Musaylima and his massive army. The battle was brutal, but Khalid's strategic acumen and sheer determination led the Muslims to a hard-won victory, effectively crushing the largest rebellion and securing the future of the nascent Islamic State. With Arabia united, the Caliph Abu Bakr turned his gaze outward to the two superpowers of the time, the Byzantine Roman Empire in the west and the Sassanid Persian Empire in the east. Khalid was first sent to Persia, modern-day Iraq. In a series of swift and brilliant campaigns, he conquered much of the territory in less than a year. His tactics were revolutionary. He used light cavalry with unmatched speed and mobility, striking his enemies before they could even properly form their lines. At the Battle of Walaha, he executed a double envelopment maneuver, a tactic famously used by Hannibal at Cannae, trapping and routing the Persian army. Just as he was consolidating his gains in Persia, an urgent message arrived. The Roman front in Syria was in peril. Abu Bakr ordered Khalid to march to Syria and take command. What stood between him and the Muslim armies in Syria was a vast, waterless desert that was considered impassable. But for Khalid, impossible was just a challenge. In one of the most audacious marches in military history, he led his small army on a death-defying 6-day journey across the Syrian desert, using camels to carry water for his soldiers and horses. They emerged from the desert right behind the Byzantine lines, completely surprising them. His arrival revitalized the Muslim forces and turned the tide of the war. This set the stage for the epic showdown, the Battle of Yarmouk. The Byzantine Emperor Heraclius had assembled a colossal army, a coalition of forces numbering in the hundreds of thousands, to crush the Muslim presence in Syria once and for all. The Muslims were, once again, vastly outnumbered. The previous commanders willingly handed over leadership to Khalid, recognizing that he was the only one capable of leading them to victory against such impossible odds. For 6 days, the fate of the Levant hung in the balance. Khalid reorganized the entire army into smaller, more mobile units. He used his elite cavalry, the Mobile Guard, as a rapid reaction force, plugging gaps in the Muslim lines and launching devastating counterattacks wherever the Romans threatened to break through. He personally rode across the battlefield, inspiring his men and directing the flow of the battle. On the final day, he executed a masterstroke. He waited for the perfect moment, then launched a massive cavalry charge that shattered the Roman flank, leading to a complete collapse of their army. The victory at Yarmouk was absolute. It was one of the most decisive battles in world history, paving the way for the Muslim conquest of Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. Khalid ibn al-Walid was more than just a brilliant general. He was a leader who led from the front, a man of incredible courage who reportedly broke 9 swords in the heat of battle at Muta. His understanding of strategy, tactics, and psychology was centuries ahead of his time. Yet, despite his unparalleled success, he remained a humble servant of his faith. When the second caliph, Umar, relieved him of supreme command, Khalid accepted the decision without protest, continuing to fight as a common soldier with the same ferocity and dedication. He fought in over 100 battles, and the historical records show no evidence of him ever losing a single one. His legacy is not just one of conquest, but of leadership, faith, and a military genius that remains unmatched. When he passed away, it was not on the battlefield, as he had always wished, but in his bed. It is said that he lamented this, showing the scars all over his body and saying, "I have sought martyrdom in 100 battles. And now I die in my bed, like an old camel." May the eyes of the cowards never rest. The story of Khalid ibn al-Walid, the Sword of Allah, is a timeless epic of courage, strategy, and unwavering faith. A man who transformed from an enemy of Islam into its greatest champion, and whose legacy continues to inspire millions around the world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next story.